Hello and welcome to You Diplomatic Enclave. I'm Yasser Aziz and today I'm going to briefly discuss about Pakistan-India relationships. Pakistan-India relationship they date back to 1947 following the dissolution of British Raj. The British Raj dissolution it resulted in evolution of two independent and sovereign states, the state of India with its Hindu majority and the Pakistan with its Muslim majority. The dissolution itself also caused a mass migration of over 12.5 million people across borders, and also it also unfortunately caused the human rights violation of over 1.1 million people were assassinated or they fell victim of human rights abuses. Moving further, the core cause of India and Pakistan relationships are there are certain disputes that still needs to be resolved, especially the territorial disputes where both countries have been engaged in three different wars and also one undeclared war. We have also with both countries are also involved in some water disputes as well, where still there are many issues at large over the construction of dams. These civil military before we go to the civil military relationships, I will briefly discuss about the Kashmir issue. The Kashmir issue, as we know for today, it's still a issue which is prevalent in both countries. The Pakistan maintains the position of neutrality. We believe in the self-determination of Kashmiris. Pakistan believes that the Kashmiris have right to choose either they would like to go with India or they would like to go with the Pakistan under the United Nations Charter and under the plebiscite. Pakistan wants to have an independent referendum within Kashmir territory and let the people of Kashmir decide their fate. However, the counterparts in India they consider Kashmir as their integral part. So this is one of the issue which is still which is the main cause of dispute between both countries. Also, there are territorial disputes across the line of control between both countries. There are skirmishes on daily basis. Moving further, basically, what are India motives? If I may briefly describe about the tensions between both countries or the areas where there is still a huge misunderstanding, or with the areas where there is still conflict prevailing in both countries. Briefly speaking about India, well, again, I'm a student of international relations and I'm not here to play a blame game, but the purpose of today's video is to highlight certain issues which are existing in both countries and where there are concerns of the both establishments and how to bring a peace on the table between both countries. Pakistan itself it has certain reservations when it comes to India. Pakistan believes that India is unfortunately involved in certain I will say on certain areas where we have huge concerns. For example, the Indians' involvement on the Balochistan in supporting Baloch separatist movements, Indians supporting terrorism organizations within Afghanistan, the Indians' support for international isolationism for Pakistan on various platforms, including SARC. Likewise, India's hegemony. India wants to rise with the help of United States in the region in order to counter China. And also there are also certain concerns of Indian side where they believe that Pakistani side, unfortunately, they are involved in certain terrorism operations, and I'm very saddened to know about the fact that being as a Pakistani, we are pretty much closely associated to to the terrorism issue. I have also written an article where I previously in Overseas Tribune, where I try to clarify Pakistan's position, that Pakistan should clarify its position when it's accused of harboring Taliban's. So where do we move forward from here onwards, where both countries should go ahead instead of playing a blame game? But my findings and my research has brought me to a conclusion that a peaceful dialogue and a diplomacy, with the help of both civil and military establishments, it can only bring peace to the region, and it's good for the stability of the region. Number one, I would like to say the political dialogue is one of the most important factor, where both the governments, the political government, the democratically elected governments of both countries, they should engage in a stable dialogue process. Also, on military aspect, the intelligence sharing agreement should be signed between both countries. There should be a border control mechanism. There should be adjustment of communication lines on both sides of the border. There should be economic integration. I believe the Pakistan also welcomes the Indians' involvement to CPAC project. There should be people-to-people contact, and there should be also a nuclear disarmament, because as we know today, both countries are in a high race to surpass each other in terms of nuclear proliferation. So I believe that the nuclear arena is also one of the factor where the world has a huge concern, and it's also being nuclear capable states for both countries, and at the same time being engaged in a war or in conflict. I'm sorry, not in war. Luckily, we are glad. Or being engaged in a non-conventional warfare for both countries is very bad, and that needs to be tackled. There is no zero-sum game for either countries, as we know today. Like, we are living in a world of geoeconomics, not in a world of geostrategics. So we have to, both countries have to focus their policies, mainly focus on geoeconomics, not on the well, of course there needs to be a geostrategic policy, there needs to be a geoeconomic policy, there needs to be a diplomatic dialogue for both countries. But at the same time, the establishments, the civil as well as the military establishment, they should come together. They should bring peace. They should do their efforts to bring peace to the region. I would like to finish today's blog by stating an expert, Mr. Michael O'Hanlon from the Brookings Institute. He says, and I quote, "Two great nations on earth should find a way out to cooperate." So I'm going to close today's video with the hope, with an optimism that both countries will try to initiate a dialogue, and the dialogue which helps bring peace and stability in the region. And both countries also find to bring confidence building measures or conflict resolution mechanism as well in terms of Kashmir. Thank you so very much. Have a nice day.